God, yeah.
This show, I was obsessed with it before. I've hated that we had to wait so long
Yeah.
for season two. But Hades, my God, does Hades have some good stuff this season?
Oh, I did not know it was going to go there. I didn't
Yeah,
know what
well,
a deep dive they were going to do, you know?
it's so good. And I love when like because I'm Greek. My maiden name's Alexopoulos. So I love
Right.
like Greek mythology,
Me too.
but
Yeah.
like getting to explore all this was insane this season.
I know. It really was. It's such an honor to retell these stories that we know and love, and most of us are, even if it's new, to some people, it's such an honor to breathe life into these myths that are about life and pertinent today, you know? And
No.
and then to breathe a different kind of humanity into these deities. Uh, it's really an honor. It really is, and I had no idea. I thought it was going to be a little more traditional or good
Yeah.
guy, bad guy. I didn't realize we weren't going to have like, with the exception of a couple of jerks, there really aren't any bad guys. I'm looking
Yeah.
at you, Aries. No, no,
Aries, yeah.
I mean, look, even that we were talking about yesterday, it's like, even he has a point of view. It's an
It's
entitlement thing.
true. He does.
But yeah, but still, for the most part, everybody has a reason for what they're doing. You
Yes, and
know,
I love that. And I love that we explore that because it's so important because then you feel like you can relate to the characters. You know what I mean?
absolutely. If you ever thought Hades would be a relatable character, I mean, like for me, I'm like thinking, my God, he's like the nicest one. He's actually
Yeah.
kind of nice.
He's up there. He's in like the top three of like the nicest people in the
Yeah,
show.
he just feels slighted, and other than that, he's like, no, he's in love with life and and a woman who brings flowers. It's like, yeah, it's
I
very
know.
interesting.
That's one of my daughter's favorite stories. I remember when they were learning about Greek mythology. She's 12 now, but she came home and she was like, "Do you know why we have like winter and spring?" And was like
No.
explaining all of it to me. And I love that we get like a full episode, like a whole story about that. So, can you just
Yeah.
tell me how it felt kind of like reading that and getting to be a part of that?
Oh, it was incredible because, first of all, yeah, it's great to have a whole episode based on family troubles. You realize they're all the same. And, to Demeter's credit, by the way, I mean, Laura Pulver playing, Persephone and Cissy Jones playing Demeter, just like incredible. Uh,
Mhm.
you get to work off those people, it's crazy. Not to mention everybody else in that cast, but I mean,
It's an incredible cast.
just for those scenes that you're talking about, truly, um, uh, Demeter has a point of view. Her daughter is falling in love with death. Why would you be there? This is a terrible dimension, you know and
Yeah.
and now we didn't go into, oh, he kidnapped her and all that. We did a
Yeah.
very different take. In
Mhm.
fact, I am Hades. I was being very aware of being hands off. In other words, I don't deserve you, but I am glad for you to
Mhm.
be here. But he does not interfere with Demeter. Have you noticed? He's just like, I'm sorry, it's your daughter. I can't. As angry
Yeah.
as I am, I'm going to let you guys decide what you need. I thought,
Mhm.
wow, there wasn't like, no, she's coming with me. None of that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? None
It could
of
have
that,
gone that
because
way.
no, because that's not in his heart.
Yeah.
He, the thing that so to that end, as tough a mother-in-law as she is, she has a reason for what she's doing. Now she should have boundaries, which none of the deities seem to have good boundaries in this show. There's in a 20th, 21st century mindset, we look at this and go, guys, relax. But especially now you have kids. Come on,
Yeah.
let
Right.
them do what they got to do. And the sad part is that Hades is not an evil person. He's not the devil. He doesn't like the realm. I mean, I think a lot of people don't understand it, that Hades doesn't want to be there either,
Hmm.
and would love to do nothing but live life and sees someone who brings life and wants nothing but the goodness of life. And so this realm of judgment really has tortured him as he's seen others tortured. He's not the cause of this torture. It's just he's part of this realm that has to run, basically. The judges even have more power sometimes. It's like there's so much more. It was very interesting to see the judgments and go, oh wow, these guys, it's very corporate. There's middle management.
Yes.
Middle management's really tough. It's like if Zeus is on trial, come on. What are we talking? Right? So nobody's above the law here. And he gets sick if he leaves his dimension too long. And he did that just so he could see her. He didn't think she would ever go for him.
Yeah.
He hid himself from her. And just the sight of her gave him nourishment. And so the fact that I'm going to get misty here. The fact that she loves him for that. And the fact that she says to him, you're the only one who listens to me. Come on.
I know.
Now you win points as a husband, right? I mean,
absolutely.
You better listen, buddy. I don't know what era you think you're in, but boy, and he's going to fight Ares. And of course, war versus death wins. I mean, it's very metaphorical, all of this stuff. And yet he just so I get the dynamic. I love the fact how this plays out. And the difficulty Demeter makes is starts from a good place, but then it just becomes it's power.
That's pretty much everyone in this show, though. I feel like everyone has their reasons behind everything, and like I said, it makes you relate to them. And I love that we get to explore so much of that this season, because you're like, yeah. Oh, this person, okay,
Oh, that rocked my world with Hera. With Claudia Christian playing brilliantly, right? Well, when I thought and this is in the script, by the way, when I'm reading this, I'm like, I am in the catbird seat. I gotcha. You guys lied. You did this. And Hera just turns it and says, because he is the best choice. Yeah. And you're just like, oh. Yeah. Okay, yeah. But you shouldn't do that. It was so... everyone, even the most despicable, choices are made, and you go, oh, that's why you did that.
I know. And it gives such a depth to the whole show. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it'd be too simple that's the bad guy, and he's going to get his.
Yep, exactly.
Zeus, you were you did these many indiscretions. You're this, you're that, you're other thing. Yeah, are you that compared to the other guys? Right. I saved your lives, right? Or no? It's like, it's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot.
It's so good. It's seriously one of my favorite shows on television.
I'm so glad to hear that. I have to say, it's one of these things I'm so proud of. Having played a lot of characters in my life, and this reminds me of the things that I got into theater for.
Oh, I love that.
Drama, was comedy. I'm usually doing comedy, or my usual job is to scare you or to make you laugh, but just to play something with that kind of pathos and that kind of like I really could get behind this guy. You know what I mean? And it really felt right. So I'm just honored as heck to be part of this. I am so excited about this show.
How long ago did you guys do the voices for? Because we waited, what was it, almost 4 years?
It was about 15 years ago. No,
it feels like it.
No, seriously, it was like 3-4 years ago. Everything got rolling. You got to, and now remember, I did other things. I think I'm credited as the merchant. I think I did things which cracked me up, because I'm trying to do research and I'm like, wait, I play. Oh yeah, that's right. You don't know I'm in. People won't know I'm in this. Like it's like I'm at the last scene, you know. And I played other things, and so this show came out a long time ago. Yeah. And it was all about, so excited, because it was all anything. I'm a mythology person too. Mm-hmm. And I've loved Greek mythology since I was your daughter's age. When I really discovered it. Yeah, I had this book called Laros's book of Encyclopedia of Greek Myths. And it was wonderful illustrations. I mean, like, really showed this stuff great. And I was just so moved and turned on by it all. And I ever since then been a mythology guy of any culture, but the Greek myths particularly, there's something about it, there's something very, and then they brought it into the playwriting, and they brought it into their philosophy. I'm sorry, Greeks have it. They just got it. I know, I'm not pandering. I'm just saying we're lucky that unfortunately a lot of the music we don't know how a lot of that stuff sounded, but a lot of their text survived, which is
Yeah,
great.
right.
They survived the dark ages because
Mhm.
there's a lot of great stuff out there every culture had that never survives.
I know,
And
that's sad.
China was lucky, that like a lot of their stuff survived, but like yeah, we know we got the plays. We got
Yeah.
most of the plays and we got and so, just what they're all about and just I'm just glad we get to revisit them now. You
Yeah.
know,
Uh-huh. Well,
truly.
what was it like for you being since you're such a mythology fan when you found out you were going to get the role of Hades? What was
Well,
that?
I was very excited,
Yeah.
of course, but my mind went immediately to, oh, I'm going to be sinister.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I'm Hades. I mean, I never think of Hades as a bad guy, period. But in terms of like, oh, well, because I'm the god of the underworld, I'm undoubtedly going to be the goth.
Yeah.
I'm going to be
Right.
I have to be, right? And then when I, I found out, like, no, it's about love.
Yeah.
Oh, that just rocked my world.
Yep.
Because remember, I just did that scene at the end.
Right.
Knows my bite well, and it's like I was just going to be badass and like, and he is badass,
Yeah.
but badass to the point of like, here's the reason.
Yep.
And oh my gosh, thank you. Thank you. My wife just brought me a
Oh,
mix,
lovely.
a nice juice mix. So yeah, I didn't realize that it was going to go that far. I didn't realize like the importance of this was not at all what I expected.
So
And
what
I
was it
think
like reading that?
I was thrilled. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, as an actor, and you go, oh, you mean I'm not just blood heavy? It's like I get to be a human. I get
Yeah.
to
Hmm.
display one of my favorite things to do in this job as an actor, and even if you're playing a monster or a bad guy, is finding whatever humanity is in that character, even
Hmm.
if it's a big creature. I just want to find where its soul is.
Yep.
And for them to give me the script with that, and oh, wait a minute, he doesn't like being in Hades. Wait, he's in love with life.
Yeah.
Wait, you know, he's
Uh-huh.
got a he's got an agenda. It's like, oh, okay. You already had my
Yeah.
interest, but now I'm just like, this is an actor's dream. It
Hmm.
really is.
Well,
I'm
you
not
play it
kidding.
so well. You're
Well, thank
so good in
you.
this.
Thank you. That means
Seriously.
everything to me. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you
I mean,
so
it was one of
much.
my favorite. I mean, I
Listen,
love all the characters. I
me
do.
too.
But like Hades was so good this season because, like you said, you feel like you're not gonna connect with this person. You feel like you're not gonna like them. They're gonna be, the evil, whatever.
Yeah,
And you're
which
like,
is,
I get it. Oh my gosh.
yeah, that death is in love with life. Holy
Hmm.
God. It wants, it's like it wants to make life with
Yeah.
children, wants to be with her, would do
Hmm.
everything he could to release everybody from their pain. What?
Yeah. You're like, wait,
Not,
Hades? Are you
yeah,
sure?
yeah, no, because I think too often we confuse Hades with the devil,
Yes.
or because that in later in biblical passages they called it Hades, the
Yeah.
underworld, But characters like Satan and Lucifer have their own stories. They are a
Hmm.
different thing altogether. Hades is just this realm,
Hmm.
and so, but we associate these
Yeah.
things with. And the idea is no, death is part of life, as are flowers and life, And so it's like, of
Hmm.
course they're entranced by each other, and
Absolutely.
he doesn't think she's gonna love him, you
Right.
know?
I
And
know.
yeah,
He's just
how
shooting a
could she
shot.
possibly love me?
Yeah.
In fact, your mother's right. Go. I mean,
Right.
that's where he's going, you
I
know?
know. I know.
Yeah.
It's so good. What did you think when you first saw like how he looked, his design?
Well, he was much more okay, two things. When he was more of a badass soldier than I realized, like more of a,
Yeah.
I always think of Hades as more the traditional look he is
Yeah,
given
yeah.
often. In this, he looked like he'd been through some war and some savagery. And what I realized is that the place did it to him. And we show that in an episode where we see Hades when he was a young man.
I
We see
know.
him, at one time. He kind of looked like a normal,
Yeah.
you know, he's playing grunge music, and then all of a sudden, no, and then he right, you know, he's in
Yeah.
like Soundgarden, and then you know, right, and then he the place just, you know, the hair's gone, the tattoos, the skin, he's mortified basically, and feels mortified. So his internal reflects his external. Still great looking dude, but I mean, you know, still just like that's he didn't, you know, kind of turn into this by choice. This is what happened to him, and he's aware of it too. And so okay when I first saw him, I thought, oh, we're going to be doing action. You know, like I thought, oh, this is going to be airing on anime style. I really did. I really thought, oh, this is going to be Greek myths that we know, but we're going to be fight. You know, which, you know, there's that, but
there's so much more.
No. No, this is drama. This is actual drama. Okay, I see. I didn't realize. I thought we were going to be more like blockbustery, kind of like, it's a fight, and a good and evil, and a death people win, lose. You know, it's like no. This is not about that at all. This is the blood of Zeus. This is drama, and I just okay. Took me a minute, you know, because you don't really know. You're not informed all this. You're not in on the meetings. They hire you. You're so grateful to be part of it, and then you read the script and go, oh, y'all are going deep. You know, it's like okay,
It is. Now, I don't want to, without spoilers.
I know. I think I probably said too much. But...
No, you're fine, because I want to talk about. I mean, the final episode. There is something towards. I don't know. It's in the last like 5 minutes or 7 minutes. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
I do.
I jaw on the floor. I was like, what?
I know.
I just loved this guy, and what's happening? So when you read that, what was your reaction? Were you like, what is Hades? Oh my gosh. I know it's so hard to talk about without spoilers.
I will say this. I'm going to say it in general, is that it followed suit in a dramatically. Okay, it's just and these guys don't play like you know. That's the thing that occurred to me. I'm like, wow, this is a pantheon that does not mess around, and consequences are severe. You know, I was surprised too. I don't want to spoil too much, but I just want to say, a lot of these are anything that involves judgment are consequences that are there anyway, that were going to happen because of your life, you know. So he there is a little bit live and let die, so to speak, you know. There's a little bit of that going on, but I know it's always surprising, isn't it? It's always great.
This show is so good. Like, I try not to, when I get screeners for a full season, I try not to like completely binge them back to back to back, because I want to have time to sit with it. But it was hard with this one. I was like,
this one's hard.
The next one.
I agree with you. I try not to do that. Sometimes time doesn't allow it. I did binge it just because I had to, and meaning I was so glued. And I know this sounds very typical to say this. It's an extremely addicting show. Yeah, it's one of those shows where, and there are a few out there where you go, what's gonna happen next? Yeah, you know, like I really did want to know. Like, and I acted in it. You know, I'm like, what? But then, like I read the scripts. You know, like I'm like, what? Wait a minute. No. Wait, what? Like there are certain shows you have to do that, but you need a palate cleanser. You know, like Game of Thrones was amazing, but if you binge that, it'll freak you out. Like, you know, it's like it's so good, but there's so much tragedy. You're like, hey, that'd be a great king for. Oh no, okay. You know, Walking Dead, same thing. I really like those. Oh, okay. Yeah, you know, it's like you know, these are all the characters you know. So you're going into this going, I kind of know the story, and I know I can sort of tell you what Hermes is about. I can turn it, you know, you can kind of know the parameters of each character a bit, you know. But still, and you know, they're not going to kill that guy because he's got to do this or whatever. But but there is that moment. It's like, what? How are we getting through this? You know, or how? I mean, the whole and then there are things that are not in Greek mythology. The whole Seraphim stories, you know, and the brothers.
I love that.
I do too. And so beautifully played by both of them. I mean, you're going to interview them in a second, I think.
I know. I'm so excited. excited.
I know. And by the way, shout out to Meredith Lane, who not only was the casting director but directed us. Now, for example,
Oh yeah.
I got to work with Laura Pulver as Persephone because we kind of felt. I sort of feel like a lot of times with love scenes or it's harder to do separate. Like I think there needs to be a little chemistry just for timing so it's not stilted. It's very easy. War scenes you can separate, or arguments, or drama, but like in the old days we used to all be together, you know what I mean, and now we record separately. But I was so glad I got to work with Laura and just like see what she did, so kind of was able to go off of that. Meredith Lane was able to fill us in on everything. Elias and I work together all the time, and he's this amazing director too. And I got to know, but she would fill us in on everything that was going on exactly right. She's like, it's a part of being a director is being a good conductor. Absolutely. And so she just conducted. I have to give her a shout out because that really carried us. It kept everything cohesive. Yeah. And that's not an easy job. It's an easy thing to overlook. You'll probably hear all about her in this next interview.
Yeah. I'm sure.
But I'm just saying, she really did like bring the reality of the scene to you, because we don't see it all the time. Like I might see an animatic.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm imagining what the justice looks like, or Hades looks like. And then to see it all done in the psychedelic beauty.
What is that like?
It's incredible. It's so much. It's overwhelming because the music, the sound, the animation, the design, the art. I can keep going on with lighting. It's just, the production value. The reason why it takes so long too.
Yeah.
And I think it's a different house this time that did some of this stuff. Both houses were amazing, but like just what they brought to it, you just go, my God. Sometimes when you do a play, you have or even a film, you have the benefit of seeing the set.
Right.
His is all in our minds, the theater of the mind when you do voice acting. And then when you see it all together, you think, this is craziness. How they treat spirits, and creatures. And it's an exciting thing to watch. It's like watching a nightmare. You know what I mean? It's not just a battle. It's not just a battle of people fighting. It's like, no, there's a giant and a cyclops and a spirit and a demon, and this is the realm of the undead. And you're like, what? Yeah. Trip have you been taking? It's like it's so. Which is, by the way, in the mythologies. They're all crazy. Went to the Oracle. We all went to the Oracle and saw stuff. Yeah.
I know. Oh man, I'll tell you, when the finale ended, I was like, well, so we're getting more, right? Like, I don't know if season 3 is confirmed. I need to like look this up, but I feel like we can't end on this, and I'm going to be so mad if there's not a season 3.
Me too. And I think really I have to thank the fans for watching this, and it is reliant on them. We want people to be into this show. Please, I don't mean to just be a pitchman, but please, May 10th.
I'm out there saying it too.
Yeah, please watch this thing and see. I wouldn't joke with you. It's really. I'm Hades, damn it. Yeah. I wouldn't tell you an untruth. But please, because we have so much more story. I know that the brothers are going to tell you. Vlas and Charley are brilliant in their storytelling. Greek says, you're saying about Greek, they grew up with this, and they have, I don't speak for them, but they have a Medusa story. They have so many things. I don't want to spoil. I mean,
I know
I'm spoiling the interview. They'll tell you this.
Yeah.
Spoiler for a spoiler, but they have so much ready. And I'm just so excited, and I just hope that we get the green light to keep going.
I'm sure, because I'll tell you, there's so many people that have stuck around for all these years too. Like, I constantly notice like comments on my interviews from season 1. People are, is season 2 coming? And I mean, spread out throughout the last few years. So people are still here. We're still waiting. We're very excited. So I'm hoping it continues through with.
Yeah, me too.
Well, I see like the Blood of Zeus account will post on Twitter, and people will be like going crazy all over it. Like, this is what I want to see, and this is what I want. So I'm hoping it does really well. So people have been sticking around.
That's right.
I'm telling people it was definitely worth the wait this season.
I'm so glad. I am so happy. Thank you for your support on this.
Yeah, of course. course.
Yeah, truly.
It's so good. And thank you so much for your time. I'm so glad that we were able to talk.
I am too. Thank you. It's so great to talk to you again.
Well, thank you everyone for taking the time. I'm obsessed with this show. I don't know if you guys know that, but I am. And season 2, man, when did you guys, I gotta ask first, when did you guys record that? Like, how long ago was that?
2021, 2022. What
more than a year ago for sure.
Yeah, I mean, because that's the first step, in animation. After we write the scripts, you record. I think it was probably early 2022.
Wow, was it?
I honestly can't remember. No, it was. It was, because I was working on something. Yep, that's right. Yeah. That's right.
Oh, finally getting there. I can't wait for everyone to see it. And I love seeing online, like, how many of the fans are still like, when is season 2? When is season 2? Like, everyone's sticking around. So how does that make all of you guys feel?
We're concerned a little bit because it took so long, and we feel their pain, and we just hope that they show up again, because
they will. They better. I'm gonna go talk to them all.
I hope so. And listen, the feedback has been through the roof. Thank God. We're hoping that the fans will really love it. We're hoping, because we want to get to tell more of these stories. We want to have more of these seasons, work with these super talented actors. There are more stories to tell, and we'll share with you, if Netflix told us, if we get the numbers. And again, it all comes down to what, the numbers in those first 10 days after it's released, in that first month. That's when they make their decision of they'll greenlight our Medusa show. And that's something that is epic. Yes, a lot of fun, has the Pantheon in it. And, it's one that we hope to bring into fruition.
Oh, let me tell you, I love that this season we get so much more backstory for people. Elias specifically, like, what did it feel reading what your guy was going to be doing? And you get to learn why he is the way he is.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I was telling the brothers the other day that when we heard that there was going to be a season 2, I had like kind of an idea of where I wanted to take Seraphim. Of course, I didn't have any particular say in that. But then when I got the script, I was like, yes, this is exactly what I want to do. This is exactly where I want to take this guy. And I was really, really, really happy with that. And the relationship, particularly, or specifically the relationship between Heron and Seraphim. It's exactly where I wanted it to go. And so I was really, really happy.
Yeah, I was going to say, Derek, what was that like for you, seeing how that was going to play out?
It's just been exciting all the way around. I think one of the things that's really fun about this is getting to see Heron grow as a character. And I mean, it's a very, very, very subtle change that I'm making vocally with it. But I even talked to the guys about it, like, hey, do you think that he's maybe maturing a little bit, coming into his own? Because in the first season, he's this naive kind of, hick, hasn't seen much of the world, hasn't been anywhere, hasn't done anything. And now he's come into this massive amount of power, and it's I've said this before, but it's that age-old idiom, power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And I think he's struggling with that, and struggling with the pressure of taking over Zeus's role, essentially. And it's not something that he's trying to fall into. I think he's trying to figure out who he is as a person at this point in time. So he's a little bit more mature this time around. There may be a little bit more resonance in my voice this time around. But overall, it was just fun to play all the stuff with Seraphim, and really enjoyed personally just getting to see more of his backstory as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And watching Seraphim take some of the resonance out of his voice. Which was
I know.
And we just switched. Switched
a little bit. I could eat rocks for 3 months straight, and I wouldn't have that resonance.
That's how I got it. Mostly rocks and alcohol.
You know what's funny? You mentioned voices. I shared this with Cissy, when Paul first hosts, but our composer, Paul, he works from home. He has his whole setup there, and he was working on a scene, and he was scoring it. And his wife came from the hallway, and she's like, who is this actress? Like, she has such a great voice. She is so compelling. And it was Cissy. And
true story.
It's a true story, and I can't do Paul's British accent, but he's like, mate, she's really good.
You can do voice work.
Great.
Yeah.
Now
you
I
can
feel
make
awkward.
a living at
Thanks.
this, I think, Sissy. I think you can make a go
Oh my
at this.
God. I'm gonna call my dad.
We're blessed to have a great cast. I mean, everyone's so
Incredible.
talented. We can't wait to see what they do. But Cissy, my goodness, too, she was someone who, first of all, just, her audition, she like knocked it out of the park. And then she was someone like, we want to give her more stuff. We want to give her more stuff. Like, it was just such, when you just hear, let's see what she's going to do. She just gave color to things and really just kind of really imbued the character, and obviously Elias and Derek, and they have a chemistry between them, which oddly it's somehow even comes across in the animation.
Yeah.
Because of their performances.
Mhm.
But we were blessed with having, these talented actors bring these characters to life in a way that far exceeded our expectations. There's no doubt.
I think
Well,
that
what you guys don't know is that it's not really acting. I'm actually just kind of an awful mother-in-law in general, so it's not really acting. Sorry.
I think the most frustrating thing for me in watching this second season of the show was that none of the credits were up on IMDb yet.
Oh, yeah.
I'm watching it going,
Like,
who's
who's
that?
that?
They're amazing.
Yeah.
And then I got to wait till the end of the episode to, so I'm sitting here, as a part of the show, but also a fan of it and a fan of everyone that gets to act in it and is performing in it. One of the people I was like, wait a minute, that sounds like JB Blanc. And I was like, that is JB.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I love it. Well, Sissy, too, for you, like, I love, again, you guys do such a great job this season of making you connect to people that are doing awful things. Like, do you know what I mean, though? You feel like, oh, I kind of get where she's coming from. Like, I understand. So what was it like for you reading through what her journey was going to be like this season?
Oh my God. Like, I remember getting the audition sides and being like, I want this so bad, which is like the kiss of death as an actor. It's like, just forget it and let it go. But I remember turning it in and being like, if I don't at least get a call back on that, I have no business being in this career. I love what I love so much, aside from the Greek mythology of it all, because let's be honest, we were all obsessed with Greek mythology when we were kids. But the license to come in and create new relationships or new dynamics to the relationships or new characters, and place them within that existing pantheon is really, really cool. And I loved Demeter. I mean, yeah, she's awful, but also, like, if you had a daughter that was like, hey Ma, I'm gonna go live in like a death for 6 months, you'd be like, no, probably not. Maybe don't do that. Like, I know you think you're big and you're old and you can make your own choices, but like, I know better here. So, it's just being able to play with that. But, the journey that she takes, and I don't want to get into too many spoilers. I
So good.
I had so much fun. It was such a joy.
Tessa, get ready. You have girls, so
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
They're 11 and 12, and I would not let them go do that. So
Pretty much, right?
No.
So now all of a sudden we're the wicked mother.
I know, right? Sorry, I'm protecting you.
Sorry.
Tessa, you know what people should know too, though, that if you look, Elias and Derek and Cissy, they all have their setups because during the pandemic, everyone was just working from home. And so I even think when we recorded this, it was still like the SAG rule that they couldn't be in the same room. So the first season,
none of you were ever with anyone else?
No.
So
I've met Elias twice in real life. One of them was when we auditioned together, and the second time was literally like 2 weeks ago or
That's
3
right.
weeks ago. We did a behind the scenes cast thing together.
Yeah.
That's it?
And funny story about the first time I met him, I was auditioning actually originally for Seraphim and Heron. I went in for that. I read for Seraphim. I was like, man, I feel like I crushed that. I feel really, really good about it. And they said, hey, can you stick around? We've got another guy that we want you to read with, but we want you to switch. This time you read Heron and he's going to read Seraphim. And the minute Elias opened his mouth, I went, oh no, I'm screwed. There's no way I'm playing that part now. But it goes back to what these guys were saying earlier, that they just did a really fantastic job just casting all these people. I mean, he's so good in that role, and it's just it's fun to watch all these actors do their stuff.
It really was
the
the animation's amazing,
spectacular.
It really was. Like, I was really excited when I booked this because I thought, I'm like, man, okay, this is before COVID, right? So I thought, oh, we're gonna do Comic-Con panels, we're gonna do parties, we're gonna do I'm gonna get together with all these actors that I admire, and we're gonna have none of it happen, of course. So we
I know,
were
and
really
now
kind
in
of
season
upset.
2, it's not even.
I mean, I've seen Claudia once in my life going into the parking lot at the studios where we record. I
Yeah.
was going in as she was leaving, and I was like, "Hey, love your work."
Yeah.
And she's like, "Hi."
Great,
moving,
another
weirdo.
fan.
It does help though that the voiceover community, everyone seems to know each other, because I even
Yeah.
remember Elias, you said like, I think I know how Fred's gonna do this. And
Yeah, I
I
know
don't know if
Fred
you were
very
just
well.
saying
I've
that to
known
make us
Cissy for
feel better,
years.
or if that
No,
was
no.
true.
No, it's true. I've known Cissy for years. I've known Fred for a long time. JB Blanc, I've known. Yeah, all these. Most of the voice community is pretty small. I didn't know Derek.
I'm kind of a newbie.
But you do
But you-
mostly
You're
on camera, right?
fantastic,
Yeah,
so
like
you would never
but you would
know.
speak
Yeah, a
to
lot
you
of
would speak to
on-camera
that,
stuff.
right? Like Derek, the on-camera world. I do a lot of on-camera too, and
Mm-hmm.
it's at first it was half of my career or most of my career, and the
Yeah.
world of voiceover is a lot more open and welcoming and
Yeah.
friendlier than the on-camera world.
Yeah.
I don't know if because there's more parts or more, I don't know what it is, but
I
just
think that
generally
there's something that's
nicer.
been really interesting about the voiceover world to me is that I found it to be a career that was really kind of hard to break into. I mean, I had years of auditions where I didn't get anything.
Yeah.
And then when I finally got one, it was like that led to 10 jobs, and it was usually the same person casting me over and over again, or had a hand in it one way or another over and over again. In fact, when I was actually auditioning for this, that person was there and was like, hey guys, Derek's actually really, really good. So, I mean, it was, I don't know if you guys remember that there was a gentleman
Yeah.
outside at Salami Studios who,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he vouched for you, Derek. He's like, this
Yeah.
guy will deliver for you.
and
He
I
said
paid
that.
him
He
well
literally
for it.
Before I became an actor, I worked in the Silicon Valley for 10 years, and I had a boss who told me once, who you know will get you to the table, but what you know will get you through the door. And I've held on to that for a long time.
Yeah, one of the lines that, I mean, it's a famous quote, obviously, is, it's all about who you know. And I've always said it's all about who knows you. I know a lot of people that don't know me from Adam.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Oh, I love it. So what about so for this season, is there something that any of you are really, really excited for fans to see in particular? Without like major spoilers, of course, but because for me, I want to tell everybody just wait till the end of the entire season. Your brain's gonna explode. But obviously we can't really talk about that. But is there anything you're just excited for fans to see this season?
For me personally, one of the things that I found most exciting about this season when I was reading it is just the fact that all of us are storytellers. All of us come from this background. We've, if you're in this business, you've seen millions, maybe not millions, but thousands of films.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time, halfway through it, you kind of know where it's going, or you have a basic idea, or you've guessed, And that was one of the things that was really exciting about this season is I'm sitting here reading it going, I have no clue what's going to happen next. Yeah. I have no idea. So that was really exciting just on a storytelling basis. But then secondly, I think as an audience, you're going to be exposed to so many different environments that we didn't get to see before. I mean, we got to see a smidge of Hades. Now we get to see all of Hades. We get to see all these different environments. The first season was epic, but it was epic only in so much that you got to see like Mount Olympus, and you get to see where Heron grew up. But we've got all these different environments, all these different characters, and we get to delve a little bit more into all the gods, which for me personally, that was, hey, this is what we love about Greek mythology. I want to see more of these characters.
Absolutely.
For me, the character arcs that everybody goes through. I mean, specifically Heron, Seraphim, and Hades. I was literally texting Elias one of the episodes midway through, and I was like, "Oh my God, like you're so good in this. It just knocks the breath out of me." And he was like, "I was literally just picking up the phone to text you."
True story.
So it's, I think everybody really poured their A game into this, from the character design and the music and the sets and the animation and the writing, all the way down to the acting. I mean, there's no one moment that stands out. There's so many moments that stand out, but the character arcs are phenomenal.
Yeah, that would be the same for me. It's the arc. Selfishly speaking, it's the Seraphim Heron specifically, that arc. I was really excited to get in the sound booth, and and I'm sure everybody will say the same thing. Like I was sweating at sessions. We were pouring and it wasn't because of excitement, or it wasn't, excuse me, it wasn't because of energy expended like in action scenes or anything. It was like pouring the emotional impact that these things had. It was I was exhausted after every session. So I'm excited for people to see that. But most of all, just, I step back from it and like I watched the whole season with my wife, who was like, every time an episode would end, she's like, okay, next one, let's go. Next one, let's go. And then it was over. And just yesterday she said to me, she's like, so when are you guys making another season?
Yeah.
I don't know. She's like, okay, let's rewatch that season. Like, that's how good people are in. Like, she's literally rewatching the season. I'm like, it's not even out yet. Wait, so we can give some ratings to Netflix. We'll watch it on Netflix.
Right.
To pat Charley and Vlas on the back real quick, I mean, that's one of the things, and Cissy was saying it as well. I mean, all the characters, three-dimensional characters across the board. These characters that they've created this beautiful world of gray, where I think a lot of films are black and white in the sense that we know who's evil, we know who's good. In this, it's like, once you learn a little bit more about Hades' story and Persephone's story and Seraphim's story and Heron's story, it's like, who am I rooting for in this anymore? So all the characters are pretty three-dimensional. So that makes it just a really exciting watch.
The performances help. The performances help. Believe
I
me.
think it's a circular thing, right? Like,
Yeah.
the performances are really good because the writing's really good.
Yeah.
And
We're just one big giant Ouroboros.
yeah.
But also, I will say though that people care because, like, I know Vlas and I, we care. We love working on this show. Like, this is our dream job. If we only did this for the rest of our careers, we would be thrilled. But like sometimes in animation, the cast will tell you, like, sometimes they get the script that day. Like, Elias is like, hey, can I read it before? I'm like, yes, whatever we're willing to take feedback.
So rare.
We're willing to bounce
So
up.
rare.
But, we don't want to ask people, they're not getting, millions of dollars to play these parts. These aren't Marvel movies, but people care and they put in the work and they come prepared and they make bold choices and they're so damn good. That it just, someone said it's like a circular, everyone's bringing their A game and it just, the whole thing keeps just building upwards. And
Wait a minute, Derek told me he got $1 million for this.
I wish Derek did.
There were going to be a lot more environments.
A million Turkish liras. That's what it was. $1 million.
Animation has suffered
where I made the
tremendously in the
mistake.
second season, and it's my fault. I wish I was getting $1 million.
Well, you know what? I just would add to it, and it's been a pleasure working with these talented actors, and really mean that. And we have two rules. One, it's no ego. Leave your there's no ego. It can't be about like, I want to get my idea in there. Whatever's in the best interest of the story, whatever's in the best interest of the characters, that's always at the forefront. And the second one is best idea wins.
Yeah.
So, and I honestly, I feel like I trust all of you. If you were to come to me like, I don't know about this line or this, we would love that. We love that feedback. Elias does it sometimes. Derek does it too. And, hopefully Cissy will as well. We're open to that. There you go. There's a trust has been established, and a respect has also been established, where we really respect what they do, and what they do has been really just brilliant.
I'm glad you guys are bringing this up because I brought this for season 3.
Well, now that you mentioned it,
I have some notes.
Yeah, just a few.
Big book.
Yeah. Well,
But like what we do is so often done in a vacuum. I mean, this is in my home and I have lived in here. I practically sleep in here, and we operate in a vacuum. We don't get feedback. We don't often get to meet our castmates. We don't really get a say in script and stuff like that. So, I mean, hearing this is nice. Please, may I have some more? No, I mean, it's just, being able to get like feedback and it's just great. It's so nice.
Yeah, and you guys are so positive. I mean, every session I get multiple text messages and emails from Charley and Vlas just singing my praises, and it's
True.
It makes the whole entire process that much more enjoyable and that much more fun to work on. And yeah, I mean, from day one, I've always said ego is the death of art, and that's one of the things that's been really fun about this project. Is if you have an idea, you don't feel like you're stepping on anyone's toes by saying, "Hey, can I try it this way?" or would the line work a little bit better if maybe we said this? I'm not coming in there and rewriting the script, but I, occasionally have a little tweak or a word or, something like that. It just doesn't roll trippingly off the tongue. And there's no ego involved in that. And that's been really fun in this process as well,
Have you guys gone back to studios to record, or is everyone just working from their booths?
I never
Sissy?
work from
Most-
home. I always go. I mean, I record my auditions from home, and I've got a different mic that I use. This is for when I had a podcast that I was doing. Yeah, I always prefer to go to the studios. I don't feel like I'm technically savvy enough to do it from home.
It depends how lazy
We-
I'm feeling that day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Do I want to
I've
drive
noticed
downtown or do I just want to do it from here? That's
Yeah,
really what
well,
it comes down to. But
you
Blood of
do
Zeus, I
live
almost-
like transatlantically,
I do live
practically.
a
So
little far from downtown. But Blood of Zeus, I always kind of wanted to be on my feet. So most of the time I would go in for that.
Yeah. There is
Yeah.
something really enjoyable about like literally being in your underwear though and just recording it and not having to worry about it.
Right?
I'm not wearing pants right now.
Are you? Yes. All right. No.
No, I mean for games and animation, most of it's gone back to studio because they want, not only not for us to have to worry about the technical stuff or our neighbor's gardener showing up, but also just for continuity of sound. Most commercials that I do are still from home because they don't want to pay for a studio. So
I just want to add now that because I remembered it because Cissy said that they work in a vacuum, and the way it works too, Tessa, is that oftentimes too, Charley and I were like, that's awesome, but the directing is done, the voice directing is done by
Our amazing
Lane.
casting director and Meredith Lane. Yeah.
So oftentimes you don't even hear it, us saying that was really great. And sometimes we specifically to ask Meredith, please let them know that they're doing a great job. So I want you all to know too, if you're doing it and no one's saying anything, you're doing a good job. It's also that we have like pages that we have to get through, and there's like, there's a time, constraint there. But I just like note to self, have Meredith tell them they're doing a good job more often, just to kind of let them know.
Actors need to
You
hear.
don't hear
There's something also I wanted to talk about real quickly, and that's the fact that like I don't know how your audience thinks we do this, but when we're doing these voiceovers now, Charley and Vlas have done a really wonderful job of being very descriptive in the script of what we're seeing and what the environment is. But a lot of times we don't have that animation present at this point in time. So it's all something that we're kind of making up in our mind. And, so how what's the distance between Seraphim and I in this scene? How big is this room? Those kind of things are really important. And that's one of the things that Meredith does a really wonderful job of, is kind of setting up that environment for us as actors, because that can be a huge problem when and I think all of us as voice actors have probably had that, where you're like, oh, I didn't know I was 30 feet away from this person and I'm whispering in this scene and it's in the middle of a battle, and if that's not described to you as an actor going in, it leads to a pretty stilted performance when it's all put together. And so I think Meredith has done a really fantastic job, and Charley and Vlas of setting that environment up for us as actors so that we kind of have a rough idea of what it's going to look like. That being said, the scope of this second season is beyond what I, in my limited imagination, could imagine. I already told these guys there's a judgment scene in it, and I'm going, okay, judgment. There's a guy sitting on top of a dais, essentially like Judge Judy's desk. This thing's like 40 feet high, and it's this massive room, and I'm like, oh, that is very different than how I saw it in my own head. And much better,
It's so great with Fred's booming voice.
Yeah.
It's so good.
And JB's voice also in that. Yeah.
It's incredible. Yeah. What is it like for you guys when you actually see it? Like, because I know, like you just said, Derek, you imagine it, but then when you actually get to see it done, like, what is that like?
It's always way better than I had it in my head. Always. I mean, I like to think of myself as a pretty visual person, especially when I'm reading a script. But these guys our animators are fantastic. And then the violence of it too is like, I love seeing, hey, it's fun to watch violence occasionally. And some of the scenes are like,
oh, that scene that gets dark in the cave with the that seems so good. Oh my god.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this seems my favorite scene of the whole thing. I'm not even in it. It's so good.
But that is another one of those moments where Meredith kind of sets it up. Like, I had no clue what the Furies were going to look like.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then you actually see them, or what are they called again? Are they Furies?
The Curies.
Yeah. So I didn't know what they were going to look like. And then when you actually see them, it's like, oh, that's really, really cool. But the cave is about the same size as I thought they would be, and that part was really cool. Yeah.
I love that part.
You
Yeah.
did have to yell a lot during that, Derek. I did feel
Yes.
bad because they all have to strain themselves and put,
Yeah.
you don't even think of it, but and this is how they make their living, their voice is their instrument. And I always feel bad, like someone will be like, one more. I'm like, no, don't ask them for one more. We'll make it work. Like,
There's a 6-hour period like the next day where I actually sound a little bit like Elias.
Yeah,
Because
that's what I said. I was just yelling before
because I
talked to
can't
anybody.
talk anymore. And yeah, that's
love
Elias
it
just
'cause
goes
you-
around for the rest of the day just screaming
Yeah,
until
that's
he
how I
has to
get
go
it.
into a
It's all
booth.
lies. I love Derek because it just reminds me of my kid watches Dragon Ball so much.
Yeah.
And it just reminds me of Goku always like, oh, and Derek has to Goku 3 times in this season.
yes.
Where he's
Yeah.
just like building up. Oh, and like his poor voice.
Yeah.
It's
There's
amazing.
A little bit of yelling.
Cissy, how about for you when you get to see it all put together? What's it like?
It's so fun. I mean, again, going back to the animation of it all, watching season 1 before I knew I was ever going to be a part of this, I loved the character designs for Hera and
Mhm.
Athena and all of the other goddesses. And then we had talked about Demeter, we had talked about the scenes that she has, but to actually see her show up, it was really great. I mean, it's always, I don't know, there's always a bit of cognitive dissonance when I hear my voice coming out of not me. But
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 it's
it's always fun.
interesting. Your voice though too, like there's a certain presence that Demeter has, and that comes from you and your voice. And you get a certain this woman's intelligent, she's strong, and yeah, she definitely has, I don't want to say her self-interest, at the forefront, but there's a certain power, that I think
Looking
the
out for her
voice
daughter.
yeah, that the voice you bring that to the character, which was, and again, the nuance of the performance, we just loved it.
Cissy, I just did the
Thank you.
math. This was our 6th project together.
wow.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Where we've done she's been my wife, she's been my daughter. She's been
I
a
have.
companion. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
That's
Oh, I
awesome.
love that.
We,
Wow.
Elias and I worked on Starfield for 8 years together, 6 years
Yeah,
together.
6 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's how you
crazy.
guys got to know each other?
It's
No,
a
we knew each
longer
other
story
before
than
then.
that,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, it's just Sissy's been great. She's one of my anchors when I moved down to LA for sure.
Oh, that's
Oh, I
awesome.
love
Great.
that. Well, Elias, for you this season, what was it like seeing Seraphim's love story, we'll say, come out together on screen?
Yeah, that actually was a surprise for me because I don't know if you guys had that in mind when you wrote the first season. Did you guys have that? I never asked that. If you had that
not
love
not
story
that
in
not
mind.
that he would have that love story and
That
Right,
was
no.
that
I
was
love it.
That was Charley's idea, and at first I thought, oh, I don't know about this, bro. Will it come off as being contrived? And it worked beautifully. And it was one of the things that we enjoyed writing the most. But he goes, he should have one too, and we'll run them along parallel each other, and they'll have similar. And like, ooh, it's like that's the beauty of also working with like a writing partner. It's like when an idea, comes up, we know it's a good idea because we're okay, it's alive. And if it's not alive and not so good, then we're just kind of like, does that work? Does it not work? But even though he mentioned, I wasn't sure as we were writing it, it
Mhm.
just got juicier and better and better and better. But that was his idea to have him have that love story, this one woman that got away and died tragically because of him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's great. It's almost like a prequel built into the second
Yeah.
season, and so it just gives me more to work with and more motivation, and gives Seraphim another legitimate reason for doing what he's doing,
Yeah.
and which makes it better, easier for me to play, and more layered, and that's so as an actor you can't really complain. It's great.
I think that's the thing. I mean, you guys did a really wonderful job, all of you, of not making that contrived, because I do think that there is a slippery slope there.
Yeah.
But man, it's just a really beautiful story. You've got this guy who's already wounded and already, been, pardon my French, shit on by life, and then has this one shot at redemption, and it all falls apart. And so at that point, we get it as an audience. You're like, yeah, I completely and totally understand why he is the way he is.
Mhm.
Why would you trust anyone or anything after that?
Yeah, I always found it really interesting that he it was hard to play because he's literally choosing hell rather than being somebody's pawn again. Dude, like I will sit here and get acid dropped in my eye forever next to this screaming guy who can't grab some water forever rather than do what I just did with Hera. Like, that's a bold statement, right? So it was
from his Greek though, Elias, and you get how stubborn we are. So
well, I mean, Sisyphus is right next to him, so there's Sisyphus right next to him. If you want to talk about stubborn, it's like, dude, this time I swear.
But you know what also influenced that, Tessa? And that's why we always say, like, in between projects, Vlas and I take time to just read and watch other stuff. But during that time, I loved Breaking Bad. I was a huge Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul fan. But Vince Gilligan was doing this thing where he was doing Inside the Writers' Room. And one of their big mantras was that you go forward by looking back. And I always thought that's kind of interesting. If you really watch those shows, they do that so much. You go forward by going back. And then it creates, because what he talked about is that it creates, like, all of a sudden now they have this life because you're seeing point A and you're seeing point B. And then, there's all this other stuff that your imagination starts to fill it in. And I said, oh, that's a good tactic. We're gonna use that, and we did. But that's all Vince Gilligan, and thank God for YouTube and how they post this stuff.
No, that's one of my favorite parts of the season. I mean, I love the season as a whole, I really do. But I was like, man, this makes you connect with him so much more as a character, and that's, I mean, same with Hades, same with so many people, even Demeter. You're like, I get it, I get why you're doing this. Heron, like, same thing, and it's like. I just think it's written so well. And I try so hard not to binge stuff because I want to, like, sit with things. I couldn't help it with this season 2. I watched it all in like a day and a half. I was like, well, I just can't stop watching this, because every time it would end, I'd be like, well, I need to know what's going to happen next. Which, speaking of, we only have 6 minutes left on this Zoom, but you guys have to have plans, thoughts, ideas for season 3, right? Because we can't end like that, or I'm going to throw a fit.
Well, we're worried about that. Yeah, worried about how fans are going to react to the end of that.
It's like, so good. I was like, what is happening right now? I jumped up out of my seat. It was, we can't end like this.
Well, the good news is, we just want everyone to kind of, tune in, watch the show, watch it in the first 10 days, first day, first month, because that's when Netflix decides whether or not they're going to be more seasons of Blood of Zeus. And if we get the viewership, we have a Medusa project that we would love. They'll green light. So we're asking our fans to please watch. Also, we want them to know that if we do get the views, it won't take 3.5 years. They'll get the 3rd season by
less than a year. Less than a year.
Ooh, really?
Yes. So that's the other good news. And that 3rd season, my goodness, you want to talk about bingeable. It's like an emotional freight train. And it's something that I think is really going to surprise people. And it has a Game of Thrones component to it where, like, no one's safe and there's going to be real stakes, because now, people are in the underworld, but there's a cool way that there's something, without giving it away, that we created that adds to the stakes, and in a really big way. So people are going to be on the edge of their seats, so God willing, we'll get the viewership. Please watch. And there's a lot of great stories that we want to tell and explore and work with this amazing cast.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I'm just going to hit play on Netflix, and even when I'm not home, just let it keep.
Do it.
Does that count? Because I'll just leave it on forever.
I don't know. I feel like it can't hurt, right?
No, do it, please.
Why not? Just going out for the day, just play. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's the next episode automatically anyway. So run right through the whole thing. No, well, thank you guys all for taking the time today. And like I said, you guys know I love this show, but this season you guys outdid yourselves, and it's so good. It was so good. I was like crying. I'm like cheering. I'm watching it. I'm like, what is going on with me?
What was your favorite? I'm just curious. What was your favorite scene? And I even would ask everyone else. I'm always curious. We're always curious to hear.
It's so difficult to pick, but I mean, I do love the Hades stuff a lot, especially the like making me care about him and like his love. Like when he goes up to see her, that stuff was like
good.
a love story. But I'm telling you, the final towards, I mean, it's like maybe 5 minutes before the end, the thing that happens to Heron, that's what I'll say.
Tragic.
That my jaw was on the ground. I was like, what's going on? Where are we going from here? So,
That's good.
Well, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Good.
Thank you.
Liz, we really appreciate you having us back on. Thank you.
Yeah,
Francis.
thank you. And thank
Yeah,
you
of
so much for
course.
your support.
of
Like
course.
this show from the beginning. Yeah. Thank you.
Yes.